Today on Smackey's Garage, we're going to be talking about the top 7 mods you can do to your F150 using FORScan. So if you're new to FORScan, it's a software that gives you the ability to go into your computers and modify some configuration settings. Now, it has a lot of different features on it. One, you can read and reset diagnostic trouble codes from all the different modules in the truck. You can read the module's sensor data, so if you want to see kind of what's going on in real time. You can run service procedures, which is something that I've used quite a few times, whether I'm putting the truck in parking brake mode. And last, the configuration and programming functions. You can go into the different modules in the vehicle and you can start modifying them, changing settings, changing the parameters so that you can make it better for you and kind of more optimized to the features that you want in your truck, which is what we're going to cover in this video. The top 7 features or functions that I've made to this truck that I think makes it much better for me. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to walk through those. Now for this video, we're going to utilize FORScan. We're also going to utilize an OBD link. So I'm going to link the cable that I prefer down in the description. It's also the one that's recommended by the FORScan team. Now FORScan, all you have to do is go to their website. You can download it from their site. It is free. To make some modifications and change the configuration files, you're going to need to get the extended license, and you can keep extending it over and over. One of the key items that I'm going to recommend is when you do this, make sure that you go in and you back up any of the files before you make modifications. It's always good to have a safe backup in case something did go wrong and you could just revert back to that file. Now let's go ahead and let's get into the mods. Now I'm not going to go into exactly how to do this mod, but I'm going to go into what the mod is, and then I'm going to have a link in the description that's going to cover the video that I put up that goes through step by step how to do that mod. Now each one of these videos is probably 2 to 5 minutes long, so they're really not that long. I kept them nice and short so that you don't have to waste your time. You can go through it and see exactly what steps you need to take with a full on-screen display, so it should be really straightforward. Now let's go ahead, let's get into my top 7 mods. Now my number 1 mod, and I'd say it's the thing that I use most every single day when I'm driving my truck, it's the changing of the blinkers. So on the F150, when you get it, it comes standard with 3 blinks when you use the lane change function. So you push the turn signal stock halfway, it'll beep blink 3 times and then I'll turn off. Now what I prefer is actually changing it to 5 times. It gives you more time to change lanes. You can signal a little bit earlier. And if you've ever pulled a trailer with your truck, you know that this function is standard within the trailer function of the truck. So it's something nice and easy to do. It is a great way to get started in working on the truck and using FORScan, but that's one of the ones that I use pretty much every time I go out on the road. Now the second feature that I like the most, it's going to be disabling auto start stop. Now this feature is on the dash. It's a feature that turns the car off and then turns it back on when you're at a stop. You notice that it doesn't do it sometimes when you're pulling a trailer because it gets disabled. And I decided to disable it on my truck, mainly because, could potentially wear the starter more. Probably not an issue, but one of the things that I experienced with my truck is when I was at a stoplight turning into my office, the truck stopped and then it started back up when I pushed on the gas. But for some reason, the power steering didn't immediately come back, which I thought was very weird. And then ever since then, I've disabled the feature permanently through FORScan. So this means I don't need to go ahead and push the button anymore to stop it every time I drive the car. I can just get in the truck, drive it, and it's off. Now the next FORScan feature I'm going to recommend is actually resetting the transmission tables. Now when I first got the truck, it shifted fine. But over time, I don't know if it's learned the way that I've been driving or I've changed the way that I drive, but I've noticed that the transmission is shifting differently. But with this function, you can actually go into the PCM, you can reset these tables so that it'll relearn your driving habits and reset the transmission. Now I have 80,000 miles on my truck. I have reset the transmission tables recently, and I've noticed a significant improvement on shifting. Right away I saw an improvement, which was probably because everything was clear and was just relearning. But I would recommend that if you have the ability to go and do this, and you're seeing some shifting issues with your 10-speed, it's worth trying out to see if it makes a big difference. Now the next change I made on my truck with FORScan is I actually changed the tire sizes up to 33 inches. And when you go to a larger tire size, that's taller, that means your circumference of your tire is going to get larger, which means your speedometer is going to go off. So if you go up a certain percentage, your speedometer is going to be off a certain percentage. Now with FORScan, you can go into the tables and you can actually make some changes and change the circumference of the tire to get the speedometer closer to what it originally is. And this has come in very useful. It did take me a few times of playing around with it to get it right. So I actually set it once and I took it for a ride. I noticed it was off a few more miles per hour. I changed the setting a little bit more and I played around with that circumference to get to the right speed to where I was close. A good tip to do this if you want to try to get it accurate, you can either use a GPS on your phone or you can find one of those speed things on the side of the road that you drive by and it says your speed is X. And then you can drive by that and compare it. But I checked it at both 30 miles per hour then 60 miles per hour because the higher you go, the further it's going to be off. Now the number 5 feature that I've changed on my truck with FORScan is actually Bambi Mode. So what Bambi Mode is, it allows you to have both your high beams and your fog lights on at the same time. I mainly use this for off-road use because, on some of the trails or roads that I go down, they're private. So being that way, there aren't any lights on them. Having that extra light that spreads out is actually really helpful, especially when you're driving in pitch black with no one around. So that's a simple mod that anyone can do. It's just changing one function in the truck. Then when you do that, you get the ability to have your fog lights on with your high beams. Now, the number 6 mod that I like is global windows. Now, global windows allows you to put down your windows or put up your windows in your truck, whether you're next to it or in the truck or not. Now, the way to use this feature is you walk up to the truck or you look out the window, you double click on the unlock button while holding it down. When you do that, you'll see the windows start to come down and they'll go all the way down. It's good, especially on those hot days when your truck is in a secure location. You want to put your windows down to cool everything off before you get in. And then second, if you want to put them up, you can also use a feature where you do it the opposite way, double click lock, the windows will come up, and when they come up, everything's locked up. Now, I don't really use the up function. I mainly use the down function in the morning when I'm trying to cool off the truck before I take it out to work or before I go somewhere. Now, the last mod that I like is the ability to enable hardware on the truck that it didn't originally come with. Now, for myself, I do a lot of towing, whether it's in the winter or in the summer, and I really needed a trailer brake controller. So what I did is I went to the Ford site, I bought an OEM trailer brake controller, and with this trailer brake controller, I installed it, so I ended up taking apart pretty much the entire front of the dash and then put it in. And after I got it in, I was able to use FORScan and then change the software on the truck so that it enabled the trailer brake controller to function. Now, without that, you'd need to take the trailer brake controller in the truck to Ford, and then they'd have to enable it for you. By doing it this way, I paid once for the OBD link cable. I have the FORScan license. I can make as many modifications and changes as I want, and it has saved me money if I were to go do these mods at a Ford dealer. All right, well, those are my favorite FORScan mods, and it's made the truck a lot more personalized to me, and it's given me all the features that I want. So don't forget to go ahead and check out each one of those videos down in the description below, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thanks for tuning in this week on Smackey's Garage. I'll see you next time.